Once again, this election night, we really enjoy our partnership with the good folks over at PBS12. Want to send it there right now, and Dominic Dezzutti and our two expert analysts. Dominic, let's start off with Amendment B, passing with ease. Talking about the Gallagher Amendment, like Tabor, so many people in Colorado have heard of it, might not really know how this is going to impact their wallet. Has there been almost an artificial lid on residential property taxes? Can some people expect their property taxes to go up because of this?
Jim, I think you asked a great question. Let me throw to one of our Gallagher experts here, in Dick Wadhams. Dick, now that we see that the repeal of the Gallagher Amendment is likely passed, what do Coloradans need to know about the effect of this move?
Well, actually, the repeal includes a freeze on property tax assessments for both residential and business property. So I know that was an area of contention during the campaign, but there is a freeze on that. The bottom line is that business property taxes were artificially too high because of Gallagher, and this will offer some relief to small businesses, which really need it, especially in the middle of this COVID pandemic. And then on top of it, the way the Gallagher worked, it really put a lot of pressure on especially rural services like fire, police, healthcare, and so it will help. It will certainly help with first responders around the state. I'm surprised by the margin, but a bipartisan campaign was put together, but frankly, there were Democrats and Republicans on both sides of this issue. It was one of those rare times where you had a very diffused coalition on both sides. But when you have Senator Hank Brown and State Senator Leslie Herod supporting the same thing, I think that partially explains why it passed by such a large margin.
I think that's a great point, Michael. Throw it to you. Amendment B was really if there's going to be anything purple about Colorado, it was the support here. You had people like Senator Hank Brown and Leslie Herod together. You had people like John Caldera and the former Speaker, particularly Hullinghorst, together. So it was odd bedfellows at best. But does this help untie some of that financial knot that some of our lawmakers have been, frankly, complaining about Tabor, Gallagher Amendment 23? Now one piece of it is gone. Will it give much relief for the state legislature?
Well, the theory is it will. I mean, our newly elected Senator John Hickenlooper was famous for quoting it as the fiscal knot, and with people like Kent Thiry, who come from the corporate world, who put a lot of effort into figuring out, one, how to get this on the ballot, and two, to pass. I mean, it had 4-to-1 in terms of fundraising for it versus what was against it. So that certainly helped. I think people knew what they were voting for, and they realized it's one step in helping get out of that fiscal knot.
Now, Amendment B with Gallagher repeal was one item that we thought was going to have a lot of press. Another one that we thought would get more attention, but frankly didn't, was the national popular vote. It was Proposition 113. That's passed. Now, I've heard from other folks saying that the case is still not done because there's only one of, I think, 16 states needed. So it's not as if suddenly that is not the case. But were you surprised, Dick, to see that pass and the fact that it really didn't make much of a campaign scene?
No, it's interesting, Dominic, because there was a very intense grassroots effort to get it on the ballot, which was no small feat. And the former House Speaker, Frank McNulty, kind of led that charge. For whatever reason, though, the financial support for the defeat of NPV never showed up, and so they were not able to put together as much of a campaign like the proponents of a national popular vote. And so as a result, it was kind of one-sided in terms of the public debate. I also, as you point out, that is far from being a done deal, the national popular vote. But even if they get to the 270 electoral votes they need to put it into effect, there are a lot of constitutional questions around it, and there will be constitutional challenges to it if it gets above 270.
Mike, it seems to me the national popular vote compact, the whole idea it's a creative idea, but it feels more like a referendum of citizens saying, is it time to look at the Electoral College? And to look at that it means amending the Constitution. That is no small task. Do you think there's going to be more, if not for the compact, but at least more conversation about the Electoral College, especially depending how the popular vote might turn out this year?
Well, you're right on. I mean, I think we might have another scenario where the Democratic candidate wins the popular vote. I mean, that's really what precipitated this, and it shows in some ways how blue we are as a state, because they were unhappy with that outcome, and they were unhappy with the president, and it just further fortifies why they're unhappy and want the popular vote to decide who becomes president in the future. And I think you'll see other blue states try to do the same thing if they haven't already.
Well, Jim was very kind about talking about the partnership with CBS4, and we've loved the partnership we've had now for over 16 years. One of the key things about this partnership is we tackle a lot of local races, local issues. We talked a lot about the ballot issues, but the state Senate is a big deal. I mean, let's talk about the laws that affect you and me, more likely passed in the Colorado legislature than in the U.S. Congress. It looks like, from the results so far, that Democrats have picked up 2 seats. So if I'm doing my math right, and correct me here, fellas, it was a 19-16 advantage for Democrats, and now if things hold true, it would be going to 21-14. Mike, is that a significant change for Democrats in the state Senate?
Well, it certainly continues to fortify the state Senate. Right now, we know for sure the Dems have picked up 1 seat. Senator Jack Tate's seat in Centennial, District 27, is going to be won by Chris Kolker. The Senate district in the West Slope, District 8, that's held by incumbent Bob Rankin, is still close. We don't know if there are more votes coming in, but they could very well, as you said, be at 21-14. It's not veto-proof, but it gives the Democrats more momentum to follow the agenda they want to set forth next year when the legislature starts up.
Dick, if you're Jared Polis, do you want to see more Democrats in the state Senate, or do you actually like it when it's closer so that maybe some of the governor's agenda versus the legislature's agenda is what actually makes the session? What do you think?
You know, Dominic, that is a great question, because Polis would not be the first governor who had big majorities in the legislature that he had problems with. And so it cuts both ways. You know, it's interesting because we will have new lines in 2022. We're going to have reapportionment of the legislature, but it does make it a much higher hill for Republicans to climb, even with redistricting or reapportionment in 2022.
So when we look at Colorado right now, we have, there's been a lot of conversation about the urban and rural divide. I don't know, and clearly there's some things that need to still come out, so we don't know for sure. Do you think that's only going to exacerbate from what we've seen so far? Is that going to be a significant issue for Coloradans moving forward? Mike, your first crack at that.
Well, 85% of our population lives in a quote-unquote urban area, but some of those urban areas are the resort towns in Summit County and Pitkin and San Miguel with Telluride, and certainly up with Rat with Steamboat. And so we are only going to get more urban. With what's happened with COVID, Colorado's become a very attractive state. And I do see a few things happening here. People wanting to be in a city that's smaller. We might think we're a big city, but coming from New York or San Francisco, they like our size. And I think we're going to see people moving out of urban areas into more rural areas, particularly, the state just got 2 big broadband grants. And if you got connectivity in some of these rural areas, some of the city slickers are going to be showing up in Mesa County.
Well, Dick, you made a great point earlier with our friend Sean Boyd that with Cory Gardner now out of politics, at least in a couple of months, statewide politics, there aren't any representatives from rural areas. Is that going to make an impact?
You know, Dominic, I think it's even more than that. I honestly think that Denver is in a state of decay right now. I don't think you can look at the riots last summer, what happened at the state capitol, the boarded up windows that I saw as I came down to the station tonight. I have been told by friends of mine who are in the real estate business that very high-end downtown properties are stagnant right now because people do not want to move downtown. So I think there's a lot of change to come in this city.
Well, Jim, you were very nice with your kind words about our partnership. It is now 16 years doing election nights back and forth with PBS12 and CBS4. We've been so happy to be a part of it, and it's been great to share tonight with both you and Karen, Sean, the whole CBS4 team. It's been an exciting night.
Gentlemen, thank you very much. And, you know, Dominic, we know with the other two gentlemen, the time that, you know, Dick and Mike have shared with Sean over the last several months has just been invaluable as we try to learn about the issues and the candidates. So thanks very much, fellas. We sure appreciate it.